Rembert Wurlitzer Company. Rembert Wurlitzer Company was a distinguished firm in New York City that specialized in fine musical instruments and bows. Founded in Europe in 1856, the Wurlitzer Company was a world-famous musical instrument company known for its many ateliers in the United States. Rembert Rudolph Wurlitzer 1904–1963, violin expert, and a grandson of the founder of Chicago's Wurlitzer Company pianos, organs, jukeboxes, bowed out of the family firm in 1949 to found Manhattan's Rembert Wurlitzer Company, which has bought, sold, authenticated, and/or restored more than half the world's 600 known Stradivariuses, and supplied instruments to Fritz Kreisler, David Oistrakh and Isaac Stern among others. Wurlitzer had built up a first-class workshop inviting the great Simone Fernando Sacconi and his pupil Dario D'Attilli, where many of the best American repairers were trained in. In his last years, Sacconi spent much time teaching in Cremona, Italy, and published I Segreti di Stradivari Cremona, 1972, setting out in detail Stradivari's working methods. They amassed a very important collection of the finest instruments of the violin family, which included Antonio Stradivarius, Giuseppe Guarneri, Domenico Montagnana, Sanctus Serafin, Lorenzo Storioni, Francesco Ruggeri, Joannes Baptista Guadagnini, Nicolas Lupot, J.B. Vuillaume, to name a few, as well as an important fine bow collection including bows by François Tourte, Dominique Peccatte, Nicolaus Kittel, Pierre Marie Persois. Most importantly was the acquisition of the Henry Hottinger Collection in 1967. Henry Hottinger had an early interest in the violin and bought his first Stradivari in 1935. His ambition after the war was to acquire one outstanding example of each of the old Cremonese masters, and in the case of Stradivari and Guarneri del Gesù, one example from each significant period of their production. An illustrated catalogue R. Wurlitzer, the Henry Hottinger Collection 1967 was published following the collection's sale to Rembert Wurlitzer Company, the most highly regarded string instrument dealership of its day. The instruments, about 30 violins in all, were subsequently dispersed all over the world. This shop became a leading international center for rare string instruments. From the turn of the century, the shop also imported many fine instruments made by the best contemporary makers of Europe at the time, including Albert Nürnberger, whom they represented as the greatest modern bow maker. C. 1912. Biography. American firm of instrument makers and dealers. Started in Cincinnati in 1853 by Franz Rudolph Wurlitzer 1831–1914, who was a German immigrant from the musical instrument-making region of Markneukirchen in Saxony. The company was directed successively by his three sons until 1941, when it moved to Chicago. From importing musical instruments, it turned in the 1880s to marketing automated instruments, including disc changer machines and coin-operated pianos. The mighty Wurlitzer theater organ was introduced in 1910, followed by the successful coin-operated phonograph or jukebox 1934–74. In 1909, the company began making harps. They were far more durable than European prototypes, and from 1924 to the 1930s, 8 acclaimed models were available. The firm's violin department, independently directed by Rembert Wurlitzer 1904–1963 from 1949, became a leading international center for rare string instruments. Among Wurlitzer's electronic instruments, beginning with electric reed organs in 1947, the most important have been the fully electronic organs, especially the two manual and pedals spinet type from 1971 with synthesizer features for domestic use. Quotes. If you are not already aware of it, Having papers from the Wurlitzer company, Rembert Wurlitzer is as close to the gold standard as you can get. So many of today's experts were trained in their workshops, and their legacy of quality and integrity is one that sets the benchmark for American violin shops today. It would not be an exaggeration to assert that Rembert Wurlitzer and his company started the golden age of American violin making that still continues to this day. In 1951, Sacconi went with his pupil D'Attilli to work for Rembert Wurlitzer. A first-class workshop was built up, and many of the best American repairers were trained in it. In his last years, Sacconi spent much time teaching in Cremona, Italy, and published I Segreti di Stradivari Cremona, 1972, setting out in detail Stradivari's working methods. To this day, presently 2009, Rembert Wurlitzer certification is still highly regarded and respected. That says a great deal about his expertise and reputation.